You're listening to the Perth Property Show, Australia's only weekly property podcast by West Australian experts for West Australian listeners. Catch your latest episode every Monday at 7 a.m.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Perth Property Show. Trent Fleskens here, your host as always. Today we are getting straight into our fifth and final episode of the apartment development series with Luke Parker from OP Properties. Luke, thanks very much for coming in again, mate.
Morning, everyone. Morning, Trent.
We are talking about that final chapter in any development. It's the final chapter of the series and our apartment construction. It's handover and settlement. So to run through, our first one was site due diligence. We then picked our site up, started on design and engaging consultants and town planners. Moved into, once we had that DA, moving into sales and marketing and getting money from the bank. Once we got all that sorted, we got the actual development built, construction and tendering. Now it's finished. We've just finished practical completion. We've picked up as many defects as possible, and we're looking to start handing it over to those eager buyers who have been sitting and waiting this whole time. Surely this takes a couple of minutes. We get the settlement done and it's through.
Oh, a piece of cake. Landing a plane's easy, I'm told.
This is a time where, there's a little bit of the showmanship, the champagne gets out. We've completed a landmark project that we'll drive past for decades and be proud of. What's involved?
Yeah, look, it's a really exciting part of the project, but just like letting the contract and the tendering that we talked through in the last episode, coming up to practical completion where the building gets finished off, it's a really good part of the project that all the finishing touches are going on, but it's really important to not lose complacency. Usually we would start looking at our practical completion checklist and program with the builder probably 3 to 4 months out from completion. So that's a long time, right? But there's so many things in a built form development and particularly talking about in an apartment context that the consultants need to provide, that you talk to local council about. The service authorities need to have all their signed off certificates and documentation. And then, of course, you've got your buyer defects management plan, which is happening in the background as well. So your contract should specify and define what the builder needs to do to achieve practical completion. So obtaining council sign-off that the building occupancy is a big one, all the consultant certificates, and all the areas of quality that you want finished off as part of the building. So as we were talking about during construction, you got your monthly meetings, keep on top of your admin, keep communication with your builder, and sit down and say, right, 3 or 4 months ahead of practical completion, what does the builder need to do, but also what does the client need to do to achieve PC? And really from that point, both parties they know what is expected of them and can just step through it. The builder can resource it accordingly. As a developer, you can do what you need to do. You can talk to your bank, keep them informed, and then you can deal closely with your buyers as well.
So the bank is signing off to say, yeah, look, what we've funded has been completed. Is there any money left over, or is that pretty much it when you get to handover? Is there a bit left for jobs outside the builder, or are we generally having this as a turnkey product with the builder?
Yeah, look, you really try, because really once you reach practical completion, you then you should have your strata titles at the same time, and you're able to notify your buyers that settlement will be within the prescribed time frame.
So they should be done.
So you really want everything done. And as soon as you notify the buyers, you should have a clear customer relations person in contact with your buyers. You should have a clear defects management plan. So once you notify the buyers, the next week you should be inviting them down to walk through the new apartment, pick up any things that might be remaining defects. And so at that point, you want the gardens done, you want everything finished off, you want any sort of final artwork that you might be doing hung on the walls, you want it looking really good.
Real schmick, yeah.
Real schmick. These are your buyers, they're 2 weeks out of settlement, it's their new home, it's
This is your brand, right? This is for the next one.
Yep, so you really want to have all that done. And that's often what will come up in we're 3 months out of practical completion now for the builder. As mentioned before, what does the builder need to do? But you as the developer, often you'll be organising some artwork or some loose furniture or the couches in the lobby that maybe the builder may do, or maybe a client package. It's really important to get it all done at the same time.
Now, it'd be pretty rare in Western Australia that these apartments will be fully subscribed, as in all of them purchased 100% pre-sold. Therefore, there'd still be some empty that we're trying to sell, and therefore the bank would still have to have, I guess, some money left over for you to cover a few more months of capitalised interest. How would all of that process work of one, the bank, allowing you a bit more time to keep selling these before you have to find funding somewhere else, but two, that continual sales process. If you think about the big apartment developments in Perth, some of them are finished, and 2 years later they still haven't sold 80% of them.
Yeah, so, I mean, you should have a good level of pre-sales to be able to pay off most of your debt in the first round of settlements post-completion. But if you've got buyers that have a change in circumstances and they are not able to get funding and there's fallovers, then you might fall short. And so you're not able to pay out all of your debt to the bank. In that situation, look, if your communication is open and clear with the bank, they know where things are at. You can spot these problems before they happen. Everyone's the same. You don't want to get a call from your builder saying, oh yeah, I had this major issue last week I didn't tell you about. The bank's the same. They want to know what's going on because then they're in a position to communicate with you.
Try and work with you on an extension.
Yeah. The bank doesn't want to have to step in and charge penalty interest or anything. You know, the development's been delivered. It's almost there. If it takes a few months longer, then really you sit down the bank and work it out to get the last sold, to pay off the bank debt, and then so your interest stops accruing, and then you have more apartments after that, which is paying out what will be your equity component to you or your investors or however it's funded.
And then the last couple would be your profit.
Last year's a profit.
So you'd find a lot of developers out there who have paid their debt off, probably got their money back, but are sitting on the last 5 apartments going, there's my profit, but I can't get rid of them at a nearly a profitable value. What are you doing there? Can you get different funding, residual funding?
Look, it's a hard one because often in that situation, the market might have changed. It might have come back a bit during construction. So you're settling it, but the last few, which like you say, your profit is held up in, are really hard to sell. And you don't want to discount the apartments, one, because you're getting less profit, but secondly, because you will affect the valuation of the other apartments, and they're the buyers that have supported you in that development. So look, you just got to look at it and really try and work out an exit strategy. If it's bad, you sometimes look at, do you want to convert them and hold them as just rental apartments? Often developers they want
the cash because they want to move forward on the next project.
Do the next one, that's right. So that won't always work. Plus, it gets a bit more complicated from a tax and GST point of view as well. So look, developers really just want to sell down and try and sell the last of the projects. But yeah, if the market does change during construction, then you can't. There are developers that have had stock left over, and it can be a difficult situation to be in.
For those who have bought and are looking to settle, you're using a normal settlement agent, going through the normal process of transferring property?
Yeah, so look, of course, each buyer will have their own settlement agent. In terms of the developer, we would engage a settlement agent to do all of the sales. And look, it's really important that settlement agent has experience in apartments, but also has some depth in terms of resourcing. Because if you've got a 20, 30 or a 40 apartment building, well, your first round of settlements, you might have 20 or 25 settlements within 2 or 3 days of each other. And so it's really important that your settlement agent has experience in apartments.
Has the capacity.
And then has the capacity and has staff they can pull in. When settlements happen, you're going to need 2 or 3 conveyancers working full-time on your project. And smaller companies that do mainly established houses, conveyancing, just won't always have the ability to pull that level of resources. Yeah, so that's important to consider when first engaging your conveyancer.
What about strata managers?
Yeah, strata managers. So strata managers are similar. Put a lot of work into this development. It's come through. It's on. You've managed your defects really well. The last thing you want to do is, if it's some of the large developers have their own internal strata management, but most developers will appoint an external strata manager that they will pass the building over to when they've finished the building.
You would have done that appointment quite a long time before completion, right?
Normally pre-construction. You need them on board that early because in your pre-sale contracts, you need to set your strata budget, and so you need a strata manager to help you with that to make sure you get it right. And then you need your land phase, your unit entitlement breakdown. So your strata manager will normally be engaged a year and a half earlier, pre-construction for when you're drafting your pre-sale contracts. So they've been there, they've been working with you closely. You keep them informed. Like anything, they're across everything at that point. That they've had involvement in the drafting, the bylaws, and they know about the building. They've often provided lots of really good advice around building maintenance,
shared services.
Yeah, all of that. Really important input early on in the design stage.
Shared amenity as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So they're involved in the project, and then when it comes to completion, you as a developer, you're handing the building over to them. And so it's really important that they do a good job and you monitor them. Because
it's like sending your kid off to school.
It is. You can't give them your pass.
Look after them, please.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's just so important because if the Australian manager drops the ball, then again it can be an area of real frustration for the buyers, and it can tarnish the projects and all this really good work, and then you can sort of trip at the finish line. So again, an area of the project, and another reason why it's a really good, enjoyable time of the project where you're finishing and the buyers are moving in, everyone's happy, the money's here in the bank's getting paid off. But you don't get complacent and drop the ball in really these last sort of steps of the process, which don't take a lot of energy to set up, but they can have some real consequences if they go wrong.
Especially for your brand in a long-term aspect. A lot of people who buy apartments, they actually buy more than one apartment off a developer over the course of their life. And a big reason they do that is because they like what the brand represents in terms of the services they get with regards to their lifestyle, be it the quality of management of the pool or the shared barbecue and dining facilities and cinema facilities they have these days. They really do follow the brand.
Definitely. And Australian Manager comes into that picture as well. I mean, some developers, think about it, the 25 to 30 settlements at one time. A lot of those people, once they sell, they want to move in, right? So you often have quite a number of people, and the people work, so they want to move in on the weekend. So you might have 3 or 5 or 8 people moving in on the 2 or 3 Saturdays after completion.
Clogging the lifts up,
getting frustrated because they can't get furniture into new buildings. So they're not sure how to get into the basement. So often what some developers will do is they'll say, right, we're going to pay for a sort of not so much a building manager, more of a handyman to be there for the 4 weekends post-completion. And in the scheme of the cost of the development, it's a few $1,000s. But what it means is when people are moving in, there's someone there that can just help them out, give them a few pointers, help with just where's the removal truck pull up. Really practical, simple things like that. That sort of thing can just make such a difference to the buyer's move-in experience. And then they if it's a good experience, then next time they want to buy off the plan, or a family member or a friend wants to buy off the plan, they're going to say, well, we had this great experience with OP Properties or whoever. They looked after us and we had a really good experience and it was a great property and you should go with them.
At the end of the day, that is a big factor here. What is different about buying and selling and developing apartments compared to houses is very much a product. It's very much a lifestyle product that, just like going and choosing your hairdresser or choosing the clothes you wear based on the brand, it's the same thing with apartments. Is at the end of the day, they're all 4 walls and some kitchen facilities and bathroom facilities, but they're actually so much more than that when they're apartments, when they're in shared complexes, because it really is about your ease of access, your safety, your security, the maintenance of defects, and just generally the status and pride that goes with being a part of and living in a development like this.
Absolutely.
Mate, it's been a fantastic series. I really appreciate everything you've contributed to the show, Luke. 5 episodes. You're one of the biggest contributors to the podcast. And again, would like to say a big thank you on behalf of the listeners who do get a lot of value out of your thoughts. Guys, for anyone listening, it is Luke Parker from OP Properties. If you are looking into that apartment space, if you've got apartment development going on, he is the person I trust on that project management side when it comes to getting these things off the ground and into hands of willing buyers.
Oh, Trent, I really appreciate it. It's been great to be involved, and I think you run such a great, educational, interesting podcast series. And look, I just really appreciate being able to be a part of it. And if anyone, like you say, is looking at apartment development or other similar built form projects, then please do reach out.
The door's open.
Absolutely.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Perth Property Show. If you've only just joined the conversation, you can catch up by heading over to our website, perthpropertyshow.com.au, subscribing to the podcast, or joining our Facebook page. Don't forget to tune in next Monday at 7 a.m. for more expert insights, local analysis, and suburb spotlights. Happy hunting!